So first order of business is to approve the minutes from the May 24th meeting. Could we get a motion to do that? Jameson moves. Jill, you're the only other person I can see. Can you second that? Jill seconds. All in favor? Aye. Great, approved. Other than Tom, I don't see any members of the public here. There is someone logged in as Darien Meetings, but I don't know who that is.
It's me, Chris. I'm just trying to run the meeting not on my phone also. Thanks.
No problem. Okay, perfect. Now we understand. So it doesn't look like we have anybody here to make public comment. In terms of the chair's report, not a heck of a lot new to report since our last meeting, other than as people have seen from the email traffic, the bids have, the bid process has started for Henley and Royal. Hopefully, depending on how this evening's meeting goes, the bid process will start for Holmes. In the interim, we have gotten also the state approval letter for Holmes, so that we are good to go to bid if we get through this evening's meeting successfully in terms of authorizing ONG to start the bidding process. Jill, anything from your end on the chair's report other than those items?
No, I think you got it. Thank you so much, Chris.
Okay. So with that, I guess what I would do is ask Laurel and Dave Cravenzola and Travis to walk us through. I had sent around to the committee members the updated Holmes cost estimate analysis, and ask the ONG and the KG&D teams to walk us through that, and then we can discuss the items that they're going to go through.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. Laurel Purcell with ONG AP. Can you see my screen where I have the Holmes Elementary School cost estimate analysis up?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, good. So we were slightly over budget the last time we had met to discuss Holmes Elementary School, the cost estimate, which was, I don't know, probably about a couple of months ago. Since then, we've done a same analysis that we did with the other two schools. In this particular project for Holmes, it is ending up a little more over budget than the prior two schools. So this one, Holmes is showing as $1.9 million over budget without the alternates. With the three alternates that affect Holmes, if you were to go ahead and award those, we would then be estimating $2.1 million over budget. Again, we're not out to bid. These are based on our latest cost estimates. Similar to the other two schools, we identified what has changed since the last time we had done our construction document estimate. And it's the same types of categories. We had the security design increase costs, the additional ceiling replacement, the equipment screening. This is up at the roof level. We also have unsuitable soil increase. This was based on, again, the difference between now and our last estimate. And we did carry this in the other two estimates, but we didn't necessarily highlight it. As we delayed the going out to bid, that 1 month that we were losing, in effect 22 work days, we have since, in all three bid schedules that will be issued, we have 6-day work weeks until we can get back on track with our original construction timeline with just building the additions. So we have 6-day work weeks built into our schedules now included, and we're anticipating that there's going to be a premium time for that. So again, we've included this in all three estimates, but just want to highlight that as well. Holmes but had some specific scope of work increases since the last appropriation was done. And I don't know if I can turn this over to Eric or Travis to describe specifically what the issues were here, but there was a main entrance revision. there was an increase in the new, with building the new corridor. And also we're doing now underground drainage in lieu of the detention pond. And I know that was driven a lot by zoning with the neighbors' input. But if more clarity needs to be provided on the main entrance revisions or the increase in construction air corridor, I would ask Travis and or Eric to opine on that.
Yeah, I can weigh in on that. The main entrance revisions, when we were asked to include the security desk and to enlarge that the man trap vestibule area, that caused additional square footage to be created. With the underground drainage in lieu of the detention pond, that was based on responding to neighbor comments. If you recall, we originally had above grade detention area kind of nestled in the woods off of the Curtis property, and we had relocated that to the fields to an underground system. So that's just a more costly system, and it requires restoring the existing play area too when that gets put in. And in homes specifically, there was an increase in new construction area when we located, that was different than the original conceptual design. When we located the music addition to where it currently is, adjacent to the commons area, it required a connecting corridor to get there. So that was additional square footage that wasn't captured in the original estimates.
Travis, if I could add some color to what you just talked about.
Sure, of course.
Going through that same list of items, the main entrance revisions does include the conversation about the security desk and where it's located. But what actually started the whole main entrance discussion was a conversation with ARB, who wanted us to actually pull the entrance out and have it be more of a feature, so it truly looked like a front entrance. And
that's
so
true.
We did
Yes.
Go back and do another layer of design and pull that entrance out. And so I actually think the majority of the cost you see there is actually probably that new building. And then there's some incremental costs that would have shown up in the security design, if I'm not mistaken, in the category.
Yes, no, that's accurate. Thank you for chiming in on that.
In terms of underground drainage in lieu of the detention pond, I think it's just important for the committee to remember that yes, we did move it underground, but also we were asked to take a look at the drainage on the back of the field. We originally looked at we were just looking at making sure we had enough drainage space to accommodate for the new construction, but we had a lot of neighbors come in who were looking at the playground side of the building and had concerns. And so we also, because we were already looking at drainage, made a decision to go ahead and accommodate for some of that as well. And so that's also some of the increase. And that also came out of planning and zoning in those discussions. So while the neighbors suggested it, it was also, the total scope of our drainage was something that planning and zoning felt strongly about. And then the third piece in terms of the new corridor, I think that, again, important for the committee to recognize that, yes, technically it is the new corridor, but the reason we put it in, and Travis, you'll be better able to talk to this, or Alan, but was for really educational integrity of making sure that the music was off to the side to cover so there was a better noise situation, so that there was better circulation for all of the kids, easier access, a better look and feel for the building. So I just want to make sure that as a committee, when we talk about it, that we're thorough in, remembering some of those reasons.
It was also adjacent to the actual
Stage.
Space.
Thank you. And adjacent to the stage would have made a lot more sense. Thank you, Ellen. Paula, is there anything you would add to that?
No.
I don't think so. I think that you covered a lot of it, Jill, and I'm really appreciative that you remembered all of that.
Thank you.
Okay, so then if I can move on, the same major soft increase categories that we had basically for Henley is repeated for homes. So it's the same increase on the owner's side. And similar to the other two projects, we still have remaining contingencies. So we are still carrying a small design contingency, a little bit of escalation. Again, we're getting close to bidding. We do have our CM contingency, and we are maintaining what we had for the owner's contingency. So you saw that we were about just short of 2 million. We're projecting to be over budget. You basically have just about that and all these contingencies. So this is the one school that we had talked about that strategy of delaying the contract award of some of the less critical trade contractors. This would come more into play if the bids come in the way that we are projecting it.
Yeah, I mean, I think just for the committee's sake, for kind of order of magnitude, right? The homes, it looks like we have about, we're about $112,000 over the aggregate contingency. If you take the the full estimate with the bidding the full list of alternates at 2.127, and the total contingencies are at 2.014, that's about $112,000. And you may want to, Laurel, just go to that list of the construction, the contractors, the trades that we might consider delaying. It looks to me like basically the only one that we could just delay awarding the painting contract at $193,000, and otherwise we would be covered. That would close the gap where there's a shortage in the contingencies.
That's correct. I would recommend the flooring, but that's okay.
You would recommend flooring as
Yeah.
well, or instead of?
I think instead of, let me think about it because I gotta see what lead times are, but yeah, one or the other. I'm trying to think of who I would need first.
Okay, and I think we can, and again, I think we can make that decision once we have more firm bid numbers, right?
Correct.
So,
Yes. Yep. This is our cost estimate. It is not, these are not true bid numbers.
right.
Laurel, can you
Okay.
pull up the list of alternates so we can talk about that with the committee, please?
Yes. There's only 3 from my knowledge. Let's see. We have, there were 2 site ones. One was to provide 10 new parking spaces at the north end of the parking lot. Alternate number 3 was to remove the existing underground fuel oil tank. And they're all basically site items. And the alternate number 7, which is on all 3 projects, provide new site benches and associated. So it's basically site benches for the total of
So I think
178.
yeah, thank you, Laurel. I think it's important for the committee to understand that we were, in terms of these being alternates, while we have bid them to give ourselves bid flexibility, we really are hoping to end this project with the parking spaces, and we would like the fuel oil tank removed. I think, so those 2, we would go in thinking we probably would intend to award those unless we absolutely cannot. The third alternate really is a dependency between the 3 projects, because if we award those benches at the other 2 schools, then we would need to do it at homes. So when we look at that line item, we need to be thinking about all 3 schools. If we go ahead and award it for the other 2 schools, then it is no longer truly an alternate at this school.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So for that reason, I think it's important that we look at the over budget with alternates as the more probable of the numbers that we're working towards. That's the,
I agree with that. I mean, I think the goal would be to go to bid with the full package of alternates included in the request for bids.
What's the
And that's
condition
not-
of the underground storage tank? Is there any chance that it's leaking and that could expose us to a lust issue?
I'm not sure if it's currently leaking. I think it was just something that was highlighted as it should come out.
I don't think it's leaking. My recollection of the environmental assessment is that it is not. But
Yeah.
we think it's. Go ahead, Paula.
I'm not sure if you're aware, but I think Kevin can give you more information, but that was installed within the last 5 or 6 years. It's not that old. So if that's helpful at all.
Yeah.
I know that I was the principal when it was installed, so it's not that old.
Yeah, I mean, Tom, I think we sort of view it as best practices to to remove it while we're excavating and doing the work. That's probably a matter of timing more than it is a whether it's now or it's later, but
I dealt with a leaking one on a river in Tahoe, so they can be
okay.
expensive when there's
Yeah,
issues.
yeah.
Thank you, Tom.
That's pretty much the synopsis of where we are. And again, we are looking to receive your approval to go ahead and start bidding homes tomorrow, because we did receive the letter from the state.
And just to summarize, Laurel, it's APONG's recommendation that we go to bid at this stage.
Absolutely, yes.
Why don't we, before we get there, why don't we open it up for comment by members of the committee or discussion?
I'm good with everything. Obviously, it's an additional expense, but obviously the bulk of that additional expense is important stuff that has to be done, and the unsuitable soil thing is a big number, obviously, as well. And I think it was
Right.
on all three of them, but yeah, I agree with what you said, Jill, as well. Is like, let's target this with the alternates, because at least the parking is really important at homes. I know firsthand that it is, and so I don't think there's any sense in going into it without it. So I'm good with it, though. Thanks for the explanation, Laura.
Okay.
Others, anybody else? Sarah, Paul?
No concerns. Thank you for going over everything. Where are we actually at an aggregate over with all three projects? What was the number again?
I didn't do that math. I know Royal was like 100 and something under.
Right.
I did not do that math.
I think in round numbers, I think it was, I think Henley was about 1.5 over.
Right.
So
And
3.5
Holmes is 2.1 over.
3.5 for Henley and Holmes, and then Royal was under slightly.
Mm-hmm.
Royal was about $1 million under. So
Is it $1 million or 100,000?
No, it was like 100,000.
100,000. Okay.
Yeah, with the alternate.
Sarah, a really good question, and that it's helpful to understand the scale. I just will take the opportunity to remind everyone that we are going to treat the three projects separately, and then
100%.
Right.
Yeah, if we do decide we need to go
I'm just curious.
100%, and just because we're talking about it, that we would.
Yep. No, we have to treat these very separately.
Right.
Yep. Absolutely. We cannot.
Paul.
Yes. 100%.
Paul Harding.
I think we knew going in Holmes had the most challenges from a constructability standpoint, so I'm not surprised that these are a little skewed. It's within the margin, but let's see where the bids come in. But we definitely need to go out to bid.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, on that point, I mean, a couple things, right? I think, look, if there's a need based on where the bid numbers come in, if there's a need on a school by school basis, then once we have the bids, if we need to, we will make a request for an additional appropriation. I think kind of on a go forward basis, we think it makes sense that we'll start socializing that with the Board of Selectmen, the first Selectman, the Board of Finance, and the Chairman of the Board of Finance, making it clear that at this point we're still working off of estimates, and that we're not going to make a formal request to start the process for an additional appropriation until we have the bid numbers and know exactly how much we have to ask for, which I think is consistent with how we have operated all along. I think from my perspective, we were disciplined in our original requests for appropriation. We didn't ask for the moon and the stars. We didn't round up too much. We were very, I think we're reasonable and conservative, knowing, and we made it very, very clear that because these are renovations, that there's a likelihood that things would come up, whether they were things that were unforeseen, or in some of these cases possibly some increases in scope. As Jill noted, on some of these things, responding to input from, planning and zoning, architectural review board, the peer reviewers that P&Z retained. And so we anticipated that this was likely to happen. So once we'll sort of start the process, like I said, kind of conceptually, and then be able to make a decision once we have the bids and have verified those bids as to whether we have to ask and how much we have to ask for, and are in a good position, I think, to lay out the why we think that is. With that, any further thoughts or comments from anybody on the call before we move to approve authorizing ONG to go to bid on the Homes project? Okay, with that, can we get a motion to authorize ONGAP to start the bidding process for the Holmes Elementary School renovation project? Jameson moves. Paul seconds. All in favor? Great. Okay, Laurel, I guess your next call is to Karen Dunn tomorrow morning and coordinating that with her.
Yes, I will let her know that we're on, and everybody knows we're out to bid on the first two. We have 2 pre-bid meetings. Actually, we have all 3 pre-bid meetings late next week. We have Henley and Royal both on the 15th, and we have Holmes on the 16th, and I believe everybody's got a meeting invite, so you're welcome to attend.
Can you explain what, just for the uneducated of us, what happens at a pre-bid meeting? Who attends that? Who attends that, and what happens?
We'll usually have the design team will be there, the CM team will be there as well. I'll do a presentation using something, some sort of visuals, just to talk about the project. Contractors will show up. It's their opportunity to walk through the buildings. Same thing with site contractors. Anybody that's interested in walking through, since they're all existing buildings, contractors may have some interest in actually walking through. So it's just to go over with them the general timeline, any sort of requirements. We just kind of highlight some of the requirements. We describe the scope of work for them, and we answer any questions that they have. I always follow up saying, hey, it needs to be in writing. Any sort of direction needs to be in writing, but it's just really an opportunity to give the contractors a chance to walk around the buildings.
So the folks who are considering, the various trades that are considering bidding, you would anticipate showing up?
Right. That's correct.
Laurel, do you need facilities there?
We need a key, which I've talked to Kevin about. We need a key. We need a custodian to accompany us so that we can get into boiler rooms, mechanical rooms. Our trade contractors are going to want to get into areas that are usually off limits. Somebody may want to get up on the roof. So yes, we will need a custodian for the walkthrough that will follow after we have our presentation.
I mean, Kevin should attend that as well.
Either Kevin or Nestor will join you then.
Yep.
Will members of the engineering team, Barilli
Yes.
Gallagher, be there as well?
Yes, they will.
Okay. That
would be good, because if we have some mechanical trade contractors and electrical contractors, they may have some specific questions about.
Yeah, because so much of this, as we recall, so much of this project is MEP oriented.
What is the date for that? I'm sorry, I missed that.
We have, to be specific, we have Royal on Thursday the 15th at 10:30. Henley is on Thursday the 15th at 1:30. And Holmes is on Friday the 16th at 10:30.
Okay. Dave Martin has joined us. I think just in time to vote to adjourn. But Dave, did you have anything you wanted to talk about before we did that?
No, sorry. I must have gotten the time wrong for the start. Apologies.
Okay, no worries. For your information, we went through Laurel's presentation and voted to authorize the team to go ahead and start the bidding process for homes. And also we introduced a, hopefully knock on wood, new member of the committee, Tom Harris, who is in the interview process with Board of Selectmen. And so Tom joined us. He's a real estate asset management professional. And as I noted, I think would be a huge value add to our committee.
I have
So.
good feelings about this, Tom.
And Tom, so that for your benefit, Dave Martin is also a member of the Board of Finance. Sarah, I imagine you have met as part of the interview process, is on the Board of Selectmen. And Jill, as you know, is on the Board of Education. So we have good good liaisons with all of the major boards that are involved in this project. With that, can I get a motion to adjourn? Jameson moves. Anybody seconding?
Over here.
Paul Harding seconds. All in favor? And everybody wish Paul Harding good luck. He's home. He's home by himself with 3 young kids. And thank you for making time to join us
Yeah.
tonight, Paul.
We're fine.
Good luck.
Thank you, Chris.
Godspeed.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. Thank you,
you.
Laurel.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Travis,
Good night.
very much.
Bye. Thanks.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.